Tell me if this sounds like you. You keep wondering how you're going to do it. Like you spend hours crafting the perfect plan, the perfect strategy, overthinking every detail, and you think you got it. You think you finally have a plan that you can believe in, only to start doubting it again. The end vision or the intention is clear for you. Like you know what you want to do long term, but the steps and milestones and smaller goals that are going to get you there are kind of vague, and honestly sometimes you feel like they're shifting all the time. Like you don't know what would be realistic to achieve within a specific amount of time. And all of this leaves you feeling frustrated and paralyzed because if you can't even make up your mind, if you can't go all out, how can you hope to get anywhere? It's very demoralizing. And if this sounds like you, or if you answered yes to any of these questions, this video is for you. I'm gonna share with you a way that is guaranteed, and I mean guaranteed, to achieve what you want. And those of you who know me and have been listening to my content for a while, you know I don't make promises like these lightly. I'm even gonna share with you like the whole practical step-by-step how to do it. But I'm gonna ask you, and I can't stress this enough, please listen to the entire video. Do not skip any chapters. Even if you think you already know the point, listen to the entire thing because there are nuances and details that make all the difference. When I say guaranteed, I mean virtually guaranteed. Obviously, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Yeah, so I guess I should say, if you live long enough, this is guaranteed. All right, let's get right into it. So for context, why should you listen to me? Like, what do I know? I'm gonna tell you a little story. In 2012, my life was gone to shit for the umpteenth time, it seemed. And I caught the mother of all depressions. I did everything I could that year and the following year to try to manage and become a functional being, but I was dead inside. But then in November of 2013, I practically resuscitated myself by jumping out of an airplane. And it wasn't the act itself. It was the fact that I finally gave myself permission to do something that I've been thinking about for a while, just because it sounded exciting without needing to justify it with logic. And let's be honest, I couldn't even if I wanted to. I felt a surge of euphoria. I felt a high note I hadn't felt in a long time. And it lasted for about 2 weeks, but it was enough to bring me back to life. Like, what else is out there? Funny, when they asked me what song I wanted to play as background music, I chose Alive by POD. I had no idea what the word would mean to me later. In a sense, that jump-started my whole life. Less than 3 months later, in January of 2014, I gave my resignation from my last office job. I was determined to create a remote life so I could finally travel freely. It was something I was thinking about for a while, and I kept thinking someday, and then I was like, nope, now. Okay, change of plans. I forgot my microphone, so please excuse the echo. So my first destination was India. I was supposed to go for just a couple of months. I ended up traveling the world for 8 years. Now, the crazier thing about all of this is that I was able to do it somehow on my own terms. Everybody told me, first of all, you're going to have to completely give up on your career. You're not going to be able to get any real job, right? Like you're probably going to be, I don't know, answering surveys all day for $5 or something. You're not going to be able to build a business that has any stability. You're not going to be able to have a real relationship. No man is going to understand your lifestyle. There were so many things that I was told that I was telling myself and other people were telling me also. And not only did I have no problem continuing my career as I was doing all this for 8 years, not even having planned it beforehand, but the last 3 remote jobs, and I haven't been in an office for more than 10 years at this point, the last 3 or 4 remote jobs that I had, they were all aligned with the career that I had at the time, and they were all 6-figure jobs. People told me that I couldn't possibly have a business, let alone stability in my business, but I had a business at the end. And those of you who know my story, what I was doing before is I was consulting. I was a marketing and business consultant in the e-commerce space. And I got my business at the time that I was leaving it. It was a recurring monthly revenue of 20 to 25K a month consistently. And that year, that time when I decided that I had like a little crisis, I had a big crisis of meaning, and I started to like question what the heck am I doing? I was on track, the business was on track to making a little short of $300,000 that year. So
when it comes to relationships, I was told that I was never going to have any serious relationship. I had nothing but serious relationships the entire time. And in the end, I ended up getting married to a fellow traveler who, surprise, surprise, I met while traveling. So I'm seeing all this, and I really debated if I should share some numbers or specifics about my life, not only because I tend to be a private person, but because I don't want to build that kind of brand or business where it's like, revenue claims and things like that, because that's not what my brand is about. But I just wanted to share that people told me, and I believe that these different goals that I had and these different things that I wanted, they were contradictory. They wouldn't work together. They didn't make sense together. And well, they worked out. So this idea that you have to sacrifice some things in life that are important to you, it's not true. I don't think you have to sacrifice anything that truly matters to you, but I do think you have to define what really matters, and to sacrifice, or not even sacrifice, but just let go of things that are of lower nature. You have to be okay with reshuffling some priorities, some things taking a little bit more time, and potentially not having things look exactly the way you imagine them with your thinking mind, exactly at the time that you want them to happen. If you can open your mind up just enough to accept that I can have it, not only I can have it, but I'm supposed to have it. It is your soul's directive to go after what you really, really want. You do not have to sacrifice anything, but you also trust in that there is a voice that is guiding you, and that voice knows something that your conscious mind may not.
What I want you to know about all this is that all this time, all of these were huge stretch goals for me. I had no idea how I was going to make them happen. I moved only knowing my next 1 or 2 steps, and most of the time, there was not a single indication that I was ever going to be successful. Like, if you think my path was filled with petal flowers and signs from the universe telling me, keep going, things are gonna work out. Nope, it didn't look like that. It looked like I was never going to make it. So if you're going through it right now and it seems like there is no hope, I just want you to know that there are some things out there that will give you absolutely no outside indication almost that you're on the right path. It doesn't mean that it's not working, because for some of the goals, the inner growth happens first, and that lasts for a long time before you see any indication in the outside world. More on that later, but on the upside of all of this, I became a pro at achieving what I want, no matter how wild it seems to me and to other people. I have a very strong sense of belief in myself because of these experiences, and I learned how to trust, how to move on faith. So today, I want to share with you what I learned, so it doesn't take you as many years. Now let's talk about the problem with the traditional goal setting way. I used to set goals like almost everyone else. I would make a list of things I want to accomplish. I would set a deadline, make a plan, and work towards it. And like most people, I accomplished some of my goals and I failed some others. But there was always this one goal that I kept failing to achieve. And it was the one that mattered the most, the one that was supposed to change so many other areas of my life. Year after year, I kept failing it, and it stayed on my list, carrying over to the next year's intentions. And over time, as I kept failing, I began to feel like it was impossible for me. Like, it was possible for everyone else, but for me, for some reason, it just wasn't meant to be. And then one day, I was sitting in front of a window that looked just like this, actually, in a setting that looks just like this. I was on my chair, rocking the chair back and forth, and it felt like there was a storm inside of my head. I couldn't understand why this particular goal was so hard for me, it was so difficult. In theory, it was simple, it sounded simple. Like, if somebody else asked me, how do I do this? I would have been like, here's the ... what you have to do. But for me, it was hard to trust. It was hard to settle on one goal and one plan and say, this is the one that I'm going for. This is what I'm claiming. And I was getting frustrated with myself. And then all of a sudden, everything stopped. Like, I stopped rocking the chair, whatever thoughts were swirling in my head stopped. It felt like everything went blank for a moment, and I had perfect clarity. You know how they say you have to become the kind of person who achieves your goal effortlessly? That's still true, but it's not the full, complete answer. You not only have to become the kind of person who achieves the goal effortlessly, You have to become the kind of person who can hold it, who can maintain it once you got it. That's because you're dealing with a different kind of goal. Let me explain. I realized in that moment that success for some kinds of goals is not a one-time event, but a lifestyle you need to design and embody forever. See, there are two types of goals: extrinsic and intrinsic goals. Extrinsic goals is where the goal is basically just a means to an end. Things like, I want to get promoted, I want to buy a nice car, I want to build a nice 401k, I want to start some random business just to make some money. These goals are pursued because they lead to a larger or more important result. For example, building a retirement plan is not inherently fulfilling, but having a comfortable retirement is, so people do it for that desired outcome. Now, intrinsic goals is where the means is part of the goal itself. These are the exciting goals that live in the realm of possibility and childlike imagination, and that make you giddy inside just by thinking about them. For example, making a career out of what you love. It's not just a stepping stone, it's the whole freaking point. The thing about these kinds of goals is that we are often attempting them for the first time in our lives. Like, sure, you may not be the first person in history. Other people have done similar things, and yes, you can learn from them, but the true desire behind these inspirations is to walk your own unique path. You want to do it your way because deep down, what you really want is to meet yourself. Because whether you realize this consciously or not, you realize that that's part of the goal itself. Like I said, the goal is not a means to an end, but it's part of the end itself. And that's exactly the crux. These kinds of goals will only be reached when you do exactly that, i.e., when you meet yourself. So traditional goal setting approach says your goals have to be clear, specific, measurable. You have to break down your plan to daily actions. You have to have a deadline, and with enough focus and consistency, you will achieve it. Right? Not exactly. This still works for extrinsic goals, but in dreamer's land, where path is not pre-created, where the point from your goal is to create your own way, it's going to look very different. So here's what to do instead. Instead of asking what is the plan or what is the strategy, which is still a valid question, start by asking who is the type of person that achieves this goal effortlessly. And I want to emphasize the word effortlessly. More specifically, what kind of skills and habits does this person have that make achieving this goal inevitable? Then you're going to think about your skills and your habits, and you're going to identify the gap between your current self and this other self, and then you want to spend every single day becoming this person by gradually building the skills and habits that they have. So I'm going to walk you through the practical implementation guide, the practice. How exactly are you going to do this? With an example. Let's say your goal is to move from a traditional career to building a creative business. Let's say you want to get paid to write and speak. Step 1, visualize your ideal future. Imagine yourself in 5 years, and imagine that you have accomplished everything you wanted in your business and in your life. You're now living the dream. I want you to really paint a picture here with detail and emotion. Go wild. Don't worry about being practical. So take a minute and do that right now. Step 2, visualize an average day. Now you want to imagine an average Tuesday in this ideal life. What would that average day look like from the moment you woke up until you went to sleep? If you're having a hard time seeing this, remove yourself from the situation and imagine a third person. This person who gets paid to write and speak. What does this person do throughout their day? For example, you will realize that they probably carve out personal time in the morning to reflect and to be connected to themselves, because they can see how valuable this is and how important it is for their creativity. So they make this a non-negotiable part of their routine. The next question, how did this person get here? What were the key actions, decisions, or efforts that led to this point? For example, you might think this person probably wrote a lot, probably spoke a lot for sure. They published their work. They had to put their work in front of people. And maybe they did some efforts to collaborate with peers or with people who are going to put them in front of their ideal audience. It will be immediately clear to you what are the biggest strokes, if you will, the biggest actions that led the person to this place. Next question. What skills does this person have? Both technical and soft skills. For example, soft skills like speaking, writing, storytelling, networking. Maybe they have technical skills like understanding the publishing platform of choice. Write down what those skills are. And last but not least, what are they like? How would you describe their personality traits or their dominant state of being? For example, you might think this person has a lot of focused attention. They're mentally clear. They are creative. They are disciplined. They have no problem setting boundaries with others or saying no to protect their time and energy. Write those things down. Once you've done all this, the next step, step 3, is to define the gap. Reflect on your average day. Where do you currently stand with your routine, i.e. the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, your key actions, the things that you spend most of your time on, your skills, and ultimately any habit really, compared to this person? What gaps do you notice? When you're thinking of the gap, think both in terms of how you're showing up as well as your environment. Okay, moving on to the next step. Step 4, extract the key habits. Instead of making a plan for how you will get there, you want to do this instead. Take all your answers from the last questions and turn them into micro habits. See, we can easily see how a routine is a set of habits, but we don't usually think of actions, skills, or personality traits as habits. But actions like writing, speaking, creating, or publishing your work, or promoting yourself and your work, they're only effective when these actions become rhythmic and repetitive, i.e. when they are habits. Skills are also a byproduct of habits. You have to make a habit out of practicing your skill, and you have to habitually get and implement feedback. Even personality traits are habits. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but you have no personality, and I have no personality. Nobody does, really. Personality is just a set of habitual choices. I mean, I shouldn't have said we don't have a personality. We don't have a set personality. You choose your personality. You choose to act in a certain way again and again. And as you keep observing yourself acting in a way that aligns with the person that you want to be, you see evidence. You see enough evidence again and again to finally believe something about yourself. And that's when you go, look at that. I am disciplined. I am focused. I am confident, and so on. My point is, for every outcome you want, your job is to figure out what is the input that would make it inevitable. Of course, you want to focus on the input that is within your control. And then you want to turn that input into a habit that you almost do on autopilot. This is how you make achieving any outcome practically inevitable. Step 5, integrate. Now it's time to integrate those habits into your life. This is probably the most challenging part for most people. And the biggest mistake I see people make here, and that causes most failures, is trying to do too much all at once. I cannot stress this enough, but you must give yourself all the time you need to build the habits in a way where you can keep them up forever if need be. And I mean forever. I know this sounds ridiculous. I know many of you will think, well, this will take me forever. You will feel tempted to make big changes fast just because you can. You'll be tempted to take these big actions just because you think it's going to get you to your goal faster. But turning up the heat on a cake doesn't bake it faster. It will just burn the outside and leave the inside raw. Because there is a difference between time and timing. And when you're baking a cake, you know a lot of the variables, and there is enough experience from other people to say this is how much time it takes. But in your case, you are literally co-creating with the universe. So that's not how it works. And the difference between time and timing is that time is I will reach my goal in 3 months, in 1 year, in 5 years. But timing is I will get there when my skills and my actions and circumstances outside my control have all reached a critical point of culmination. Basically, when I'm the right person, i.e. my skills and my actions, and I am in the right place at the right time, i.e. circumstances outside my control. So these intrinsic goals, they don't play with time in the same way because they require inner growth. In other words, your cake will bake when the timing is right. And here is the biggest thing I want you to walk away with here, is that you are a guaranteed investment. When I told you that story from 11 years ago, it may have sounded like this clean, linear success story of somebody who achieved her wildest dreams. But the truth is, it was messy. I removed so many details, but there were 1,000,001 twists that led me here. And my path was full of failures and setbacks and disappointments. And looking back, I know there is one piece of knowledge that could have gotten me here so much faster. And here it is. Doing is a gamble. Being is an investment. Instead of obsessing over plans and strategies, which may or may not work, let's be real, understand that you are a guaranteed investment. When you uplevel yourself, your outer world will inevitably transform. If you invested in intentional inner growth every day and you let go of the outcome, you let go of how it's going to look, you let go of how much time it's going to take, even if you didn't even have clarity about the exact outcome, just general vision, there is no way that after 1 year of daily intentional inner growth, there's no way that your outer world wouldn't be at least exponentially better than where you are today. And if you think I am exaggerating, just remove yourself again from the equation and just imagine a random person who has like these daily habits. Where do you think this person is going to be in a year? Even if they're only spending 15 minutes of intentional effort on each one of these things every day, it may seem like nothing today, but in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, where will that person be? And you can already see that there is no way that this person's life isn't changing drastically, no matter which direction they went, no matter which goal they have, because they are a guaranteed investment. Their impact compounds over time. Even if they were never able to increase the amount of time spent on each area, just because they practiced it so much, their skills compounded. And now that 15 minutes is so much more potent. They can lift heavier weights within 15 minutes, the same 15 minutes. They don't need more time to lift heavier. They can write better pieces within that 15-minute block because they have improved, because they have worked on their skill. They can come up with better ideas within the same amount of time. Obviously, I'm not saying only work 15 minutes a day on your business, but I'm saying in the beginning, when you start, when you face resistance and everything, don't try to do everything all at once. Don't try to go from 0 to 100. Yes, baby. That's too big of a jump, and you're going to break in the process. You're going to go full steam for some time, and then you're going to unplug. And you've probably done this in the past, if you're being honest with yourself. And so why would you keep doing the same thing again and again and wondering, why am I not getting different results? And by the way, I'm not saying don't set goals. Goals are rewards. They're there to help order our consciousness. They help create some direction for our efforts, but they're like the summit for a mountaineer. You're only supposed to look at your goal every now and then, just for excitement and just to remember where you're going and why you're doing it. But the rest of the time, you need to be looking at your shoes. You need to be looking at the step right in front of you. The path to the summit is so insane that the reward, honestly, sometimes doesn't feel worth it. It's not enough to keep you going. It's like, sure, the promise of a beautiful view at the summit is really nice, but it's not compelling enough to justify the price you have to pay. Because the price isn't just hard work, sacrificing some things for better things, but it's to face fears you didn't even know you had. Chasing dreams is not hard. It's scary, and that's the hard part. When you're doing truly creative work, you will freak out a little bit. We all do. I think it's completely normal, because creative work is, it's like dancing with the unknown, but it's not a dance partner that our brains, our amygdala is programmed to enjoy very much. The truth is, you'll be scared. You will be very scared a lot of times. And it's not about killing your fear or denying it. It's about befriending it, and especially recognizing all the ways that it manifests, because it will manifest as an obsession over a perfect strategy. It will manifest as, I'm going to watch another YouTube video, hoping that the next one is going to give me the magic answer, or listening to the voice that says you're not ready to do the thing that you want. So before you can give your heart permission, first you have to do all the other things. You're not ready. Like, it's gonna show up in so many different ways. And the thing is, when you see it, when you feel it, when you recognize it, don't dismiss it. Say hi, sit with it, treat it like a crabby baby, acknowledge it, acknowledge the feeling, and acknowledge the fear, and then let it suck on the present moment. Because that's what the practice of being your higher self does to you. It takes you away from all the what ifs and brings you back to, what can I do right here, right now, from wherever I am? What's the best that I can do today? Because that's the only place I can take action. So next time you feel this paralyzing overwhelm and confusion take over you, just take a deep breath and ask yourself, if I am already this person that you imagine 5 years from now who has everything, if I am already this person, from this place, what is one thing I can do in the next 24 hours that can move me in the direction of my goal? Notice I didn't say what's the perfect thing, what's the right thing that I must focus on in this moment, and just in the direction of my goal. That's it, just in a general direction, like I'm hitchhiking towards my goal. Anybody who can take me closer there, I'll just get on that ride. That's kind of the attitude. What can I do in the next 24 hours? You go do that, even if it's not perfect, especially if it's not perfect, especially if it sounds silly and like, this is gonna make a difference. Like, I don't know how this is going to add up to anything. Do that. Do that thing that is seemingly meaningless, seemingly not doing anything, not making any impact. Do that. And then thank yourself. Thank yourself for trying. Thank yourself for doing it. Recognize your own efforts and ask yourself, how can I improve next time? And tomorrow you will do it again and again and again and again. When they say fall in love with the process, I think this is what they mean. It's not about the process of achieving the goal. It's about the process of becoming yourself, the process of actualizing yourself. When you imagined your dream life 5 years from now, on that ordinary average Tuesday, you didn't focus on the goal itself. The goal was just a means to an end. Instead, what you truly saw in that moment was just you living with your full self-expression, living with purpose, spending time on what really matters to you, enjoying yourself, creating something meaningful, making an impact, and just fully expressing your best self. You saw yourself immersed in the practice of being your higher self. So set goals. Yeah, but stop being attached to how it's going to look. Stop being attached to when it's going to happen. And definitely stop thinking that the goal is what will give you permission to be that person. Start embodying that person today, because that's not only your deepest desire, it's the very path to achieving your goal. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you want to see me put this in practice even more in 2025, growing my business by focusing entirely on the internal transformation, I invite you to subscribe to my Mojo newsletters. I'll put a link wherever you're watching this, in the description or in the comments below. Oh, and by the way, if you want, I have another video I think you'll love if you enjoyed this topic. It's called the 130 method, and I'll also put it in the description. Go check out the video. I got so much good feedback for this. Highly recommend that you give it a shot. I think you'll enjoy it as well. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye. Oh, subscribe, like, all the things. Okay, bye.